Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Witches Movie Coven. Yep, 5 witches talking about witches in movies with black coats. Grab your popcorn, grab something to drink, grab a blanket, preferably it says Witches Movie Coven. And today we're going to talk about Gretel and Hansel. But let's do a little check-in first. What's everybody been up to, or what's everybody coming up? Richard-Lael, let's start with you.
I've been up to about 5'11", 6'2" in heels. No, I've been great. I've been painting more and creating more. I built. It's not completed, but I built a diorama of my favorite thing in the entire world, the Addams Family. So I did that. I've been creating. I've been busy, and then restyling and dyeing my fingers because why not?
That's fabulous. That is commitment, and everybody's going, why? If you watch the movie,
You would know.
All right, Jason, your blonde locks look gorgeous as ever.
I'm having a good hair day.
Yeah.
The air is clear on the West Coast. It's been good. Going to Orlando this weekend for Summer Magic Fest, which is a magical and witch gathering in Orlando in a hotel. So I'll be safe from the heat. And I just found out 2 minutes before we took to the air that the Book of Kernonos, an anthology that I'm one of the editors of, will be released next month through ADF Publishing. And I'll put the link in our chat in a bit, but I'm very excited about that. That's been like a 3-year process.
Yay, congratulations. Yeah. Okay, Courtney.
That's me. Hi, guys. The countdown to the end of the school year is on. So I work at a school and I have a middle schooler. So we're all aware of what the date is. So that's very exciting. Other than that, I'm just trying to survive those last few days. And then comes summer, where I get to watch a lot more witch movies and a lot more witch TV shows and prep even better for each week here. But that's really all I got going on.
That's beautiful. All right, up to Miss Heather.
I'm just on. We have a lot going on personally around the house, but I am working on my wonderful authors and witchy books. Some really great ones. Getting ready for a big conference, heading up to Minneapolis to present a bunch of these wonderful books. I can't wait to share them publicly on the socials as they come out. We've got some really great ones coming out. So that's what I've been doing for the most part. And I think that's it. And that's what I love. And I've got 2 more articles I'm working on. I just got another great one assigned. So I'm super excited about that. So I love doing that as well.
Thank you. That last one was just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. Yeah. I do about 2 a month, so I'll keep sharing.
Please share it. And happy birthday.
Thank you. It was my birthday this week.
Well, I've still been running. I just got back from Ventura Paracon, Pacific Coast Paracon, in beautiful little beach city, Ventura, California, just an hour or so above LA, and that went really well. And Black Phillip did come along. He hangs off the table all by himself like by magic and gets knocked down 900 times, but he likes it. And that's it. I'm leaving for Vegas this weekend. I'm going to be at the Halloween Emporium and Haunted Tea House doing 2 different seances. I'm teaching a practical magic class. So that's it. And then I'm going to be home for the rest of the month and the early summer, so I can clean my house. I don't want to. I'd rather travel, but I will. But so that's good. And we've all got our Black Phillip. He's got his power panties. Life is good. So this week's movie, we are talking about Gretel and Hansel. Nope, not Hansel and Gretel, but yes, the Grimm fairy tale. Heather, as always, you are the expert as such. Shall we pass it over to you about the film or the films or what this is?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll start with the fairy tale. So as we know, this is a Grimm fairy tale. Everyone is familiar with it. What it means to witch films and witch film history is Hansel and Gretel is the most repeated, adapted fairy tale in the witch film canon. So if you go through my book, there is almost every single chapter, there's of some version of Hansel and Gretel. And I'm talking about from the day Hollywood started, because this is the consummate witch fairy tale. It really is. The witch in the original fairy tale, the witch that we find that is depicted throughout is very much a trope. And she finds herself, she's many of the other witches that we find in Hollywood films are based on the Hansel and Gretel witch. So you see it throughout in various forms. And you'll see that in my book. So that's one thing that's interesting. The other thing that's interesting is the 2010s is one of the most, is a decade with the most, or one of the most largest amount of Hansel and Gretel adaptations. We had a stream of dark fantasy films, and from 2010 to about 2015, and we had Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters, Gretel and Hansel and Gretel Get Baked. And then of course this one, so you had a series of them. They also appear in other dark fantasy anthology type films and TV shows. So this is something that is very common. The story gets told and retold in various ways. So here we are in 2020 with Gretel and Hansel. Now, I have to add in a couple other really interesting movie trivia with this film, which I found that surprised me. Okay. So the director is Osgood Perkins, or Oz Perkins. Osgood Perkins is the son of Anthony Perkins. Anthony Perkins is probably most known for Psycho. Okay. So you have that. Now, what's even more interesting is that his grandfather is Osgood Perkins, and Osgood Perkins was starred in a witch film called Puritan Passions, a silent film that you can no longer watch. That was one of the earliest witch-related satanic films. They didn't do witch Satan films back then because it wasn't believed that witchcraft was related to Satanism back in that time. So this was a very revolutionary film. It was based on Nathaniel Hawthorne's works, which were very much tied to Salem, which very much tied to all of that story. So you have a legacy. What's even more interesting is that there's supposedly, allegedly, and I'm saying this as a journalist, which is horrifying, is that this family is tied to the Perkins, Mary Perkins Bradbury, who was a victim of the Salem witch trials. So we got a little kind of like fun trivia with this one. Now, is this family legitimately connected to her? I didn't do the journalistic work to prove that, to actually verify that, but I saw there's some speculation. So anyway, it's fun regardless. But Osgood Perkins is the father of Anthony Perkins, who is the father of the director of this film. So there you go. There's my history for the day.
Wow, that's some lineage of horror and things.
Yeah, witches and horror.
Okay, so this one, they flipped the name, obviously, Gretel and Hansel, and if you watch the film, you kind of see why that is. Do we want? Why don't Richard-Lael say something? Because everybody's saying, "Why are your fingers so dirty, Richard-Lael?"
Well, I dyed my fingers because I was inspired by the film, actually. Now, people may think that I have gangrene. I do not have gangrene. I do not have frostbite. I did not dye my hair and then get a leaky glove. I did not. But apparently, according to lore, when you were touched by darkness, your fingertips would grow black. And then also, as a witch, you were playing in potions. And so you would be around things that would dye and stain your fingers black. So that's why I did it. Also, I kind of like it. I'm kind of really loving it. But I have to say, my favorite reference of all time to Hansel and Gretel is going to come to surprise to no one. My favorite Hansel and Gretel reference is in the Addams Family Values, and it is when Morticia is reading to all of those children, and she says, And just when Hansel and Gretel were about to push the witch into the oven, just when the witch was about to push Hansel and Gretel into the oven, they pushed her in and she burned alive. Now, children, think how that would feel, being burned in an oven. And then they're all crying. Poor harmless witch.
So who wants to talk about the movie first? I had never seen it before up until 2 nights ago.
I'll go.
Yeah. Hi, Christy. Okay, go.
So I also had never seen it before. And I just finished watching it about an hour before coming on. I have to say, I really loved it because it was scary. Like, I love the Hansel and Gretel story. I remember as a kid having like a grim fairy tale book and like it not matching to all the Disney movies and it being darker and being really into it. But this movie, for me, like from just like a film standpoint, it reminds me a lot of the A24 movies that I love. It's dark, the sound, there's a lot in the sound. And it scared me. It was very unnerving. And, you know, some of the, I don't want to say jump scares because that's not really to me what it was, but like the detail in the sound and the detail in, you know, the things that they were saying, it was very reminiscent to me of The Witch, which I love. And I loved the story. I feel like I always talk about how I love that coming of age moment at the end where people come into their power. And I feel like I got that and I really enjoyed it. And some of the quotes were really good too, which I'll get into later. But yeah, I thought it was scary enough. Like it didn't let me down as a horror movie. And I'm very picky about those, but it didn't let me down in that sense either. So that's my initial.
Cool. Thank you. Anybody specifically want to go second?
As a horror movie, I felt pretty let down. I didn't think it was scary at all.
Oh,
you know,
no.
I kept waiting for at least a jump scare or something to take me out of sort of this poor attempt to recreate The Witch, which I really felt like it was. It reminded me of like we're trying to do something. It's like a noble failure. And yeah, so it didn't quite have the horror gravitas. There were some really cool things about it, though. It was really great to see Alice Krieg, who, if you're a Star Trek fan, you know her as the Borg Queen. But of course, every time I hear her, though, I just think, oh, she's trying to tempt Picard and Data again. And instead, she's trying to tempt Gretel and Hansel. Sophia Lillis, who I really like in a lot of things. She's in the new Dungeons and Dragons movie, and she's really great in that. And then she's in the first chapter of It, and is fantastic in this. But I'm watching the movie, and she's the only person without an English accent.
Yeah, that bothered
me.
me.
Really sort of noticeable. My wife, I like the end of the movie. I was like, isn't it weird how she doesn't have an English accent? My wife's like, I tuned out in the first 10 minutes because her lack of accent bothered me so much.
But why would she have an English accent anyway? It's Germany, right?
Right. But everyone else had.
But everyone else did.
Yeah.
Yeah, including her
brother. Why
brother.
does anybody have an English accent?
Right.
Now that you're mentioning it, why does anyone have an English accent?
Right.
It's Germany, 1830.
Because the default accent of English movies is an English accent, right? You know, like everybody.
It says foreign.
Everybody in Rome has an English accent.
Yep.
Right? Yep. Everybody in Game of Thrones, Westeros is not England, has an English accent, et cetera, et cetera. And it's here too. And it was really noticeable. It's like no dialect coach, or did they just give up or something? It was a very odd choice by the director and the casting agents, I think. So that took me out of the movie to some degree too. I like the idea behind it. I was hoping to get something more like Margaret Murray spectral witches, you know, like these are the witches of the witch trials. And the ads for it, I felt really sort of hinted that way. I remember how excited I was when this came out. And then I thought the execution was a little lacking.
Okay.
I liked it.
Yeah. Okay, you go.
Oh, was I going? I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. I did like the film. I thought it was beautiful. Was I scared? No, but you know, things don't really scare me. though I take that back, I actually did watch this show called Homeworthy the other day, and it was bad decor. Even though this flaming queen thought that he was the best decorator, that one scared me. The witch was not the witch was not scary, but I thought it was beautiful. Like Tabitha said, the lighting was an entire mood and an entity unto itself. It was a slow burn. I thought it was visually beautiful. I liked the story. I liked the empowerment that Gretel had, because usually when the story is done, Gretel is the hero, and Hansel is the hero, and he sort of he decides he's going to get fat, and then he's the one that pushes her into the stove, into the oven. So I liked that Gretel was the hero.
Thank you. I did too. I really did. That she was strong, and it was the coming of age thing, like Courtney said. The accents, I noticed it, but it did not bother me. It did not take me out of the movie as much as her short hair did. Really,
that bothered me.
That bothered me. It's like, did anybody have that haircut in whatever that day and age was?
I mean, potentially, because hair was chopped short if one had lice, and there is a moment where the witch is saying, I'm just checking to see if you have any critters. I don't want critters on my pillows.
Right.
Now, she wasn't actually checking for lice.
She was checking for tasty. Yeah, but that specific cut, that's such a modernized girl version of a boy cut, that bothered me a little, but the accents didn't. But I liked it. Because we talked about 2 weeks ago, the movie being so pretty. This movie was pretty to me. The coloring, and it was spooky, just the setup with the music, with the coloring, whatever the tones were. Look at those tones, all these deep, rich, earthy, jewel tones that I just want to live in. It was spooky. The house was spooky. The forest was spooky. I felt hungry, like these kids torn out with nothing. I mean, I got into I actually did care about the kids. I got into the emotion of, oh my God, this young girl and this little brother and nothing. And so I thoroughly enjoyed it, and how they went off on their own, and she did her thing, and she made her choices. The only thing that ever took me out of the movie was her hair.
Yeah, I was reading about the history of the film, and Lilith, who plays Gretel, she was the first person cast. So the film was really built around her and probably whatever her quirks are. Like, she's known for having short hair and things. So it may have been non-negotiable that, this is what she was going to have as her hairstyle, because she was the star of the film.
I have to say, from like a horror standpoint, like I said, I didn't find that like there was any jump scares that scared me, but it was more the tone. Like, it was, my heart raced, like when in the very beginning, when the mother was like just slammed her hands down and started yelling at them, like my heart was racing, and that like set the tone for me. Not so much in like a jump scare way, but in like a existential dread kind of way, if that makes sense. And I feel like, for me, those are the kind of movies that I really like, because if it makes you feel something, it's doing what it's supposed to do. Not jumping out of my pants and screaming out loud, but like, that's always fun too. But that like Tabitha said, that like slow burn, and that to me got me immersed. I did notice the accent immediately, and like it bothered me almost the whole time. But like I was able to come sort of away from that when visually it was spooky and scary and gross and whatever. But then like feeling that, like I felt all the feelings, like Patti said, like when they get to the house and there's all this food, and then the horror of like watching her dump the food on the thing, and it's like body parts, and then it turns into a feast. Like, gross, but like I turned my stomach a little bit. But that's what I love in a horror movie, and I think to that extent it was executed well.
I feel like I was a little critical. I mean, I didn't hate it all the way through. I mean, I just started with my criticisms. There were a couple points where there's a stang in the film, which is a witchcraft tool that you don't normally see. And it's what kills the witch at the end, spoiler alert. And I was like, whoa, a stang. And that really made me happy and excited. And like references to flying ointments and things. I mean, there were things about the movie that I thought were fun. And it did look good. I just felt like it was really trying to be the witch, and it really wasn't the witch in some ways. And I like the empowerment at the end too, because you can tell that she's going to turn evil at the end of the movie. I think, yeah, she and Richard-Lael are going to team up, and it's going to be great. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to chime in at some point. Can you guys see me and hear me? Because I blacked out again on my screen.
We can hear you.
My screen, my visuals will come back in a second. My screen is black, so I'm just going to talk. And if I had a giant scroll of grievances, I'd unroll it in front of you guys right now.
Uh-oh.
But I subscribe to the notion here, listening to all you, that I don't want to, or I'm from the South, from all y'all listening to you, I don't want to steal your joy from this movie. But I do have a list of grievances, and I would love to write a review of this film and bring them all out. So basically, we can start with, I didn't buy the empowerment aspect of it at the end. The feminist attempt felt contrived to me. I couldn't figure out what time it was supposed to be in, and that has a lot to do with the what you guys are all talking about, with the accents being all weird. And was it really, what year was it? What time was it? Is this really old Germany?
You know what I really wish right now, Heather, had like a giant scroll that we could see.
I know. I mean, wish we do. And actually, we just heard from Rob. And he wants you. Oh, wait, you're back. You're back.
There you go.
Oh, I'm back.
I was going to cover for you for a second and go away and come back, but you're back.
That didn't happen last week. It happened again. I don't know. It's a weird thing. So, okay. So let's hope it doesn't happen again. So basically, I felt like the feminist aspect of this film was contrived. I feel like the location and the place was confusing. I'm like, I don't know if this is, because that was the least problematic issues for me. Some of the story points were, I didn't understand, where I was like, what just happened? It was so funny because when the witch went from the old witch to the young witch the first time, my daughter, who's 15, said, what? She's all of a sudden every witch on TikTok? Like, and I was like, yeah, there you go. There she is. We were so confused. Like, why? And they never really explained that her going back and forth very well. So there were a lot of story points that I really didn't understand. And then, yes, I agree with Jason. It really was trying so hard to maintain the ambiance of the witch, that haunting feeling. And that was the best part of the film in my mind, was that attempt to capture that haunting coloring, the haunting lilting way it told its story. That's the best part of the film in my mind. And Alice Krige is wonderful. Some of the stuff is not great. I think her acting, I think she's the best part of the film, honestly, watching her act. I think she's better in a witch film in She Will, and I would love for us to talk about that film at some point. It is a true feminist empowerment film, and she's brilliant in that one. So I love to see us do She Will with Alice Krige. But another thing is, I think there's a lot of tropes in this film, one of them being the young girl who gets empowered by becoming a witch. I think that was used as a trope here. That's why I think it's contrived. And I won't go on. And then, of course, which I'm going to bring up, is the anti-Semitic undercutting in this, which bothered me, and I couldn't get past it. When she goes and knocks on the door for the first time, the entire door is Star Davids. The entire black door that she's knocking on is covered in Star Davids. And then the witch, when she's young, she has tattoos all over her. Mm-hmm. The first one you see is a giant Star of David. And yes, I understand that the Star of David is also a symbol of the elements. It's used in occult. It's been used in the occult for a long time. But in modern America, when someone's watching that, they see a Jewish Star of David. And also we know that the occult, older centuries of occult practitioners have taken Jewish mysticism, and also it's been linked to negative portrayals of Jewish people. And so that I couldn't get past it. I just could not get past it. And I'm sorry. That's just that I was like, I'm done. I'm done. If you're going to link,
I didn't even see them. I watched.
I didn't either.
When you're on a screen
Well,
like this.
well, you know, the thing is that witchcraft in a negative way has been linked to negative portrayals of Jewish folk for centuries. And that's just and that's just a reality. It's demonized, you know, Jewish culture, it's mysticism. And so I just went, okay, why was this here? Why was it necessary to put that in there? Because most people won't look at that and go, oh, it's a symbol of the elements, you know, all the elements put together in spirit. No, you're going to see this Jewish Star of David. And nobody talked about it. And that really bothered me. Why was this evil witch's house who had gone to the darkness have Jewish stars all over it? So, you know, being from a Jewish background, I saw it immediately. And yeah.
Her fake food certainly wasn't kosher, though.
No.
Right? I smell bacon. I mean, it really wasn't kosher.
No, it was not kosher. I'm not saying, I'm just saying they used a lot of symbols and a lot of tropes, and that was one of them. And whether they did that intentionally or unintentionally, either way, that's how it reads. And it's pulling from a long history of linking negative magic, witchcraft, Satanism to Judaism. And that is a problem, you know, for me. It wasn't necessary for the film. It just wasn't necessary.
I didn't notice the Stars of David on the door, but I did notice the tattoo. And I was immediately kind of shocked that it was there because it didn't seem to fit with what everything else was on her body that was tattooed.
Yeah, I did not notice the door at all. I noticed the tattoos, but I just thought mystical. Again, I kind of went TikTok witch.
Mystical, right? and that's true. And you do see a lot of mystical stuff decorated with Stars of David's because of the mystical aspect of it. But unfortunately, in this case, it doesn't read like that, and it won't read like that to the general populace. And it wasn't, like I said, if it's not necessary, why do it?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean,
and so I'm not
I'm not Jewish, but I didn't see it at all. But I did see that on one of the trees was the inverted pentagram, which again, magic, I get it. But as a Satanist, I go, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Outside community, and you're using a symbol from, so I get it. I totally get it.
But the film uses a lot of different symbology throughout. And I don't know if you guys noticed that magical, you wind up with the eye in the triangle, you wind up with the triangles. You have a lot of mystical symbols just tossed into this. So I think that's why the star was there.
Yeah. That's what I saw. I love the eye and the triangle. I love that. Like, oh, what a clever little.
Right. And but you know, and I get that, but I think avoiding using the Jewish star in this aspect is because most people won't read it as something that's more mystical. And it's a negative portrayal of all mysticism, obviously, which is not positive, but this reads as anti-Semitism. And so I couldn't get past it. I literally couldn't. You guys couldn't get past the accent. I couldn't get past the use of the Star of David. I'm like, what is going on here? So, you know, I had some issues with that, but and I was disappointed. I was really disappointed because when I saw her with short hair in the beginning, and when I saw her fend off the guy who wanted to use her for a wife or whatever, and I saw her go out on her own and really take those steps and they were portraying her as the one who was going to be the hero, I was looking forward to it. I was like, okay, this is going to be good. Oh, I get it. They're going to make the witch teach Gretel magic. Cool. That's a good angle. It's interesting. And then it just went downhill from there for me. And I'm like, there are so many things that don't work and bother me about this film that I'm just so sorry. I don't mean to steal your joy. All y'all's joy.
You can have it at that point. I feel embarrassed that I missed all of that. To be fair, in my own defense, the Disney Dreamlight update came out today, so I was playing that while I was watching. so I wasn't looking directly at it. That's what I'm gonna say. But like, I take my joy. I don't want to like it anymore.
It's hard to miss. Go ahead, Patti. Sorry.
No. I still like it for the film's sake. I was not offended. I'm part Jewish, raised atheist, but I still like the movie. I don't want it to be anti-Semitic. I don't. I mean, you are the expert on such things, Heather. So I trust your knowledge. I think most people wouldn't go, "Oh, they're Jews."
You know, I think it's more of a subtle thing. I don't think it's, maybe some people would. We don't know in today's day and age. But I think it's more of an adding a layer onto a long lineage of where they use the term microaggressions, or that's not really even it. It's a long line of it's a long centuries of meaning connecting negative magic to Judaism. It's drawing from, and we talk about magic and drawing from energies. It's drawing this energy that's been there for so many centuries, and using it, and it's not necessary. It's just not necessary. It needs to go, and I don't know why they did it. Other than trying to draw random mystical symbols and let's throw that one in, that's what I assume. I don't feel it was malintent, but I don't know. I couldn't get past it. I personally couldn't get past it.
At least with that crazy short hair, she didn't have it shaved into her head.
No. And Hansel and Gretel was used. Oh, here I go again. I'm gone.
Go.
I can talk anyway, but Hansel and Gretel was used as a way to promote anti-Semitism by the Nazis in Germany. So you add that layer onto it too. I'm like, oh goodness.
Heather, I just want you to know that like the way that your screen is frozen right now, it looks like you're up on your soapbox. Like, like it is the best thing. I wish someone please screenshot this?
Please don't. I probably don't.
Oh, I was getting ready. There it is.
It was powerful. That's powerful.
That's I don't get soapboxes very often here, do I?
No, but you're good.
I think it's lots of fun. I'm enjoying it.
Now, somebody just asked. Kaylee just asked. It depends if it was a German production. What was it? A German production? Just an American film, or where are all these? It
was filmed in Ireland, parts in the United States, and parts in Canada, according to the end credits.
I mean, at this point in time in our political climate, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but I don't feel like that matters. Where it was produced or what kind of production it was, because of where we are.
I don't think this was. I'm very. I'm not one to call malintent out easily. I understand these things. Some people do. You do things by accident, or this was probably just a mystical symbol, and they just used it. I'm sorry, I can't help it. I don't know what's going on.
No.
We're
posing
your screenshot.
Do I need to go?
Yeah,
do I need to get out?
Now you're moving again.
I'm moving again. Okay. So
I think Helga doesn't like your review and is cursing you tonight.
I think that's probably what it is. But then, I don't want to call malintent on the people who made this film. I think it was a symbol. They threw it out, and nobody thought about it. Or if they did, most people probably didn't notice or weren't bothered by it, because only one review, and I scanned everywhere, and only one review pointed it out. And so obviously I'm in the minority of noticing it or caring, but it just wasn't necessary for the power of the film. Why use it? Why do it if it's not necessary? And why draw from that energy? Why draw from a long line of anti-Semitic symbolism and connections, especially when this story was used itself, Hansel and Gretel was used by Nazis to demonize Jewish people during the Nazi era. So why bother? But no, they didn't make the connection. Probably they were making a great film, and there's many good points to it, but I couldn't get past that.
And you are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. That's what I'll say on that. As far as one of the good points, though, in my magical practice, when Hansel is asking her why she didn't take this husband, and she says because when anything is given, something else has to be taken, and that is such a true statement, especially in magic. I warn people that magic is not free, that it will always make you face your fear. Whatever it is, whatever you're afraid of, it will make you face your fear. And nothing is given for free. Everything costs something.
Didn't we see that with the Covenant? The boy, they used the magic and that just aged them quicker.
Yeah.
That's true. That is true.
And nothing worse for a pretty young boy.
Except I'm gonna make you my weotch.
I just want to jump in there. We're reading everything. We like this chat room. Jeff, this is not a cow. This is a goat.
Goat. We all have goats.
Black Phillip.
Black Phillip.
Black Phillip.
He
Yes,
watched the movies.
we see you, Jeff. We just couldn't. We were caught up in talking.
We were caught up in talking, but we did not want. We wanted to correct you. You know, yes, it's a goat. Black Phillip. But thank you for noticing our goat.
Can I change gears just a little bit? Because there's
Please.
one thing that I just really was powerful to me. And in powerful, I mean, like when it was happening, I was like holding my breath and like hung on every word when the witch was talking about eating her children. And she was like going through the names and all the things. I literally, like, my skin was like crawling listening to that. And like, I don't know if it was just the lighting, the sounds, whatever it was, her voice. But like that to me was the most impactful scene in the movie, just listening to her talk.
So I'm wondering if I missed something while I'm watching the movie. So it opens with the story of the little girl whose life is saved, but then she becomes evil, right? And then she kills her father, and then she's exiled from the village or whatever. And then the big twist at the end is that the witch is not the little girl; it's her mother who went into the woods and learned from her daughter. What happened to the daughter?
She ate her.
Did she eat her? Well, it says she ate her other children, but not the daughter.
In that time, you have to remember, in the original story, people were afraid of, for one, people were afraid of people who believe differently. And people were also afraid of poverty. And they were afraid that you would turn to cannibalism and eating your own children. It was what people were afraid of. And so in the story, she actually eats her. What I did love is that she says she hated her.
Right.
And this part I understand, because I used to be a hairdresser. The woman my client is probably long gone by now. She was elderly even then. And she told me that, and she was lovely. I loved this woman. She would come in and she had diamonds and rhinestones and glitter and big hair and nail polish and makeup full of face. And she was well, she was a witch with a B. And I would tell her that. She would say, "Yes, I'm that number one." And then she talked about her own daughter and that she had raised in Vegas. And she says, and she was the prettiest thing, and I hated her. I hated her. She could have had anything, and I hated her. And that was a very real life thing that I witnessed. So from an outside perspective, I can see how a woman would get jealous of her daughter, would get angry with her daughter, would get jealous of the youth and get jealous of that. Is it right? No, absolutely not. But I can see how that could happen. And I think the little girl maybe was not evil because obviously she's a little girl, but perhaps mother just hated her. Makes sense.
Did she make daddy eat the poker?
Yeah, she made her dad die. Like, she was evil. She was like terrible.
But you're only hearing it from one perspective, though. So what did daddy do?
Iron deficiency.
I guess.
And this is where I get this is part of why I didn't buy the empowerment aspect, because in most of these films that have the the girl turns to witchcraft to be empowered as a woman or as a witch, whatever, you usually have a conflict with patriarchy, the men of the film. In this case, you don't. The woman, she has a conflict with her mom first. And then the conflict, you hear the story of the mom, of the witch mom and the pink girl. That's a mom-daughter conflict. And then you wind up with the surrogate mom, the witch, and Gretel, and you have conflict there. So all of the tension is between is the standard fairy tale conflict between mother-daughter figures. And you have that throughout going on. And the men are negligible. There's no issues with them. So why would she feel empowered? You know, I love the idea of having that empowerment happen. I love that she's found it and she's going good and she's turning good. She's not going to be bad and she's going to turn. That's awesome. But I'm like, you know, I think it felt contrived, not like in The Witch where it didn't feel contrived.
Maybe it's really an allegory about baby boomers versus millennials, and that's all it really is.
Well, so I took it a little bit differently, Heather. I think like you have obviously like the Hansel and Gretel and their mother, that conflict, and then you have the witch and her daughter and that conflict, and then like you said, like Hansel and the surrogate mom. But then to me, the minute the mother kicks Hansel and Gretel out of the house, Gretel becomes a mother figure to Hansel. And in that moment in the end where Hansel is going to die, and it's like that desperation of she will do anything to save him because that's who she has to be for him. And it felt to me like a breaking of the cycle moment where like it was all of these horrible situations and she was going to do it different. And that power came out of her and she was able to save. Like that's how I took it. And then at the end when she's going to be good, except she's not, but like, I don't think, but right. But like all the children are freed, but here she is again, breaking that cycle and breaking them free. And you know, all that's just my interpretation of it. I think that's why it resonated with me differently because it did feel empowered. It was like that desperation of like, she had to do something and the only thing she could do was that.
Yeah, I actually had more sympathy for the witch than the mother. And I understand the mother was starving, went crazy, whatever that was. But the witch, you saw some not justifiable justification, but you saw some emotion within that in her. I'm going to eat you.
The mother did have one of the greatest lines in the whole movie, though.
What was the line?
Dig yourself some pretty little graves and dig one for your mother too. And
that's a great line.
It is a great line.
Though I have to admit, my favorite line is when she's teaching him to play chess, and she talks about how that it's the queen and it's that, but then something gets dropped and she says another one
bites the dust.
Yay!
I started singing.
That was good.
Do you have more lines, Courtney?
I only wrote down a couple because they were all like, it was like more than it being a line for me. There was a lot of like monologuing that I was really excited about in this movie, but I can't even read my own handwriting. Oh, the witch says nothing to sneeze at one point, and and then I was like, what? Like that was after another one bites the dust, and then I was like, another like nothing to sneeze at. It was like these weird modern sayings. It felt like that was like I didn't know what they were trying to do, but Hansel says, or Gretel says to Hansel at one point, something about like my eyes were too big for my stomach. Or my eyes were too big for my mouth or whatever it was. And he just whips back and says, your mouth is too big for your mouth.
I remember that. They were on the bed when they said that, right? They were lying on the bed.
Yeah. After they had just eaten. So I was like, I feel that, but both ways. But yeah, there was a lot of like, to me, there was a lot of good like monologue, soliloquy business in this, and not so much like not too many like one-liners.
Right. It sounded kind of poetic sometimes. Accents, no accents. The way even she talked as a young girl wasn't young girl speech. Even I don't know in what day. I liked it.
There's a very dreamlike quality to it because you don't really know where they're at. because of the varying accents, you don't know where they're trying to pretend to be at. You know, I was like, are they in colonial America? I didn't even think they were in Germany where the story was originally told, because I could never quite figure out what they were going for with all of the different people in the movie. Cause like the kids are from all over the world at the end of the film, right? Like when you see the souls of the children, I was very confused.
My biggest complaint, I mean, now that Heather has alerted me, that's my biggest
Right.
complaint. But the one that I noticed was the house was not made of candy, because who can take the sunshine?
Sprinkle it with dew.
That's a $500 payment now to ASCAP BMI.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
I love the colors, though. I love the colors, the cinematography, the weird cinematography.
This is one that I feel like I wish I had seen in the movie theater. Like, I'm so particular about that, and this is one that I think was meant to be seen in the theater with the sound and everything else. I feel like, you know, I'm not. I mean, now that I know the things that I know about it, I'm glad that I didn't give them my money. But, you know,
I think I agree, and I know I'm frozen, but I'll be back in a second. Give me a second. I agree, and I think with the cinematography, and that's why, and that's the part that looks like The Witch. And as a big fan of The Witch, I loved that movie, and that was one of the things that the movie was beautiful. And it's not just the cinematography; it's also the rhythm and the haunting, lilting way the story's told. And this one tries to emulate that, and it does a decent job. I mean, with all its faults and its weird problems and all the things we're talking about, I think that is one of the better things. That and Alice Krige are probably the two best parts of this movie.
Though it did occur to me while I was watching the film that there might be an entirely different sort of thing you can take from it. So early in the film, the kids are starving, and then they see psychedelic mushrooms. And the girl talks to the mushrooms and says, "Can I eat you? Is it fine?" And then they eat them. And maybe the whole thing is a mushroom trip, and none of it happened at all. And the kids really are just starving in the woods somewhere, thinking that all of these things are happening when they're not actually happening.
So it's a Wizard of Oz situation.
Yeah, maybe that's what it could be.
I thought of that too, but instead of them, I mean, of course the mushrooms, but like just the starving part, like that they were starving and delirious and dying in the woods, and this was all their imagination. But I don't know. I think that's the beauty of it.
I love the mushroom scene because it just came out of, like, I don't know where it came out of, but the giggling kids, it was like a moment. That was good. And everything where they went.
I just liked Gretel like getting up there and like, "Can I eat you? Can I eat you? Is that okay? Will you let me know if I can eat you?" And I was like, that is awesome. Because that is how people figured out what kind of mushrooms to eat, you know, before we had field books and guidebooks and stuff. We just asked.
And my daughter's yelling at the screen, "Don't eat it. It's poison." And then they're putting it in their mouth. She goes, "Oh, they're dead. This movie's over." This movie is over. And I'm thinking Smurfs the whole time. So we were in all different weird places.
So did your kids like it? Did the kids like it?
My daughter did not like it. She had the same reaction. What is going on? And she did not. She just couldn't figure out. She couldn't get over the TikTok witch part and like the parts we didn't.
Witch.
Well, we didn't, and we didn't. It's not that she didn't. It's not that we didn't have a problem. She just couldn't. We couldn't figure out why. Like there was some pieces that they didn't explain. Like why did she switch back and forth? And I know at one point she says, I took on the guise of an old witch. So is she really the younger witch? And how is that possible? Because in the flashback, she looks older than she does as the TikTok witch. So the whole thing was, there was some pieces I didn't completely understand. Kind of like Jason saying, well, did she eat her daughter? What happened to her daughter? That's also not fully explained, I don't think. Yeah. So I'm like,
it's an hallucination. All of this is not real. None of this actually happened.
I am fully ready to suspend my disbelief and go with a story and let it happen. But
you know, also I'm trying to lure children in here, so I am going to look like the scariest witch imaginable when I could just look like an attractive young woman.
Good
Though
theory.
I'm wondering where that tattoo parlor was, though, where she got those tattoos, because they're
Right?
exquisite tattoos.
That's
Especially
one of
out
those
in the middle
weird
of the Black
things.
Forest.
Yeah.
This movie takes place in a time and space that is completely unknown. Is it modern day? Is it Germany? Is it the US? Is it we have no idea.
Maybe
That
that's-
is irrelevant to the story, I think.
Yeah,
That's
maybe
a
it
timeless
doesn't matter.
story.
Maybe you're not supposed to know.
That's
It's
one of the
the
things that
story.
makes The
Tell me
Witch
the
so
story.
good, though, is that it's rooted in a specific place
Yes.
and a specific time. So you have like something to hold on to. And this movie is not rooted in anything specific, and you just are wondering what's going on. It's not like a Disney movie where it's a particular kind of fairy tale land, because
Mhm.
it sort of straddles that world between maybe this is fairy tale-ish and maybe this is supposed to be a real place, and it doesn't really ever explain what it wants to do.
Yep.
Nightmareland. Nightmareland.
I agree with Jason entirely. I think that The Witch hit it right. It merged the reality and the fantasy of fairy tale of witchcraft and the stories we tell about witchcraft, along with the reality and the history of witchcraft in a perfect haunting way, and combined them and wove them together and told that story. This one kind of tried to do that, but missed the mark and skewed off in a different direction after the mushrooms or something. I don't know. and did some weird stuff. It didn't get there. It just did not get there.
And did it need to
So-
be a Hansel and Gretel movie? I mean, I think Hollywood is so focused on IP, right? Like, you have to have something that's already identifiable, right, as a hook to get people in. And other than all of the food, you could have really sort of made this not a Hansel and Gretel movie. I mean, it could have been something else with a couple tweaks here and there.
Witch in the Mushroom Woods.
Yeah.
No black coat. All right. Well, we are getting close to the end, so we have one thing to do. And everybody out there who has seen it, we want you to vote too. Wands up or wands down for Gretel and Hansel. Wands up or wands down?
What's going on over there?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I would have, before talking to you, I would have been like, "Ooh, I love this movie."
Yeah.
And now I go, "Oh, well,
I don't like to steal people's joy or take away their enjoyment. I'm so sorry. It's
But
just
you did.
one little piece of the film, so don't worry.
I don't
Was-
think they did it on purpose.
No, I don't think they did it on purpose either. I sure hope not anyway.
I
okay,
sure
then
hope.
I kind of like it."
I usually keep my wand at my desk. I don't know where it is, so now we get the
Is
pen.
that a Sharpie?
It's a Sharpie. So we get a Sharpie. I don't know. I think it's a noble failure. I think that there were parts of it that were okay.
I got a monster new wand.
Look at that
is
one.
nice.
Beautiful.
Wow.
I don't know for any real use. It's a little top heavy and it's not going to point energy straight, but I thought it was perfect for this.
It looks like a brushing
is.
wand. Like
Yeah.
you brush
And the
energy.
funniest part about it, 'cause
Gorgeous.
I got it, at a metaphysical store, and it was probably from China, not from a homemade. But the best part of it is the box. I have to show you. Wait, it says. That's what give it away. It says, "Big magic stick."
Yes.
This beat is thick.
Big magic stick.
The-
But I didn't see the box when I bought it. So anyway, but I'm going to keep with wands up because I enjoyed the movie. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm Jewish. Though I'm not Jewish. I didn't read it that way. I just didn't like the short hair, but it still gets wands up. Wands up. So we are like down, half up, half up, half. Whoa. What did everybody even voting? Wand is
Yeah, they-
wobbly, but mostly up. I have to get my wand. You have to get a wand. But it's okay. I loved it. Down the solid. It's a big magic stick. But I just thought it was so cute to sit on my desk. All right. So we have, it does not end up. It ended very neutral at best. But do we know what we're doing next week?
What is next week's date?
We're
Oh,
2 weeks
oh,
away
we're
from
getting
Midsummer.
close. It's
2 weeks away from Midsummer.
yeah,
right?
it's
I cannot wait to do Midsummer.
Yeah.
That's 2 weeks from now. Yeah, we
Yeah.
got
I'm
something
so
else before
excited.
that. I know.
I've been waiting since we started to do Midsummer.
We probably need to look at the list again and chat with it, chat about it.
all right. We'll chat about it. So we'll let everybody know later because we get all these emails going along. What are you guys doing? I don't know.
We have a list.
But we have a list. But real quickly before we go, everybody out there, thank you for chiming in. Thank you for your comments. And thank you for Melissa for my TFIL stuff. Yes, I do love the boys. And everybody out there, your comments, whether we commented on them, we appreciate them and we like them and we have them. So everybody out there, tell everybody where they can like you, follow you, get your website, get your books. Courtney, go.
I am at The Themes on all the socials. I play horror games and other kinds of games on Twitch, so you can find me there as well. Also as Ghostbait on scaredandalone.com. And if you want to be like me and wear what the cool kids wear, you can go to mysterycontrol.com and get yourself some Witches Movie Coven gear. Because as we can see, that's what I really am busy doing all week while we're not on here is shopping mysterycontrol.com and modeling my new things every week. So
thank you. Mysterycontrol.com. And remember, code Patti and you get 25% off, which is Movie Coven, my Spellcaster line, my Power Panties line, everything else there, all sorts of fun things. Code Patti. All right, Richard-Lael.
Well, I will be in Atlanta on the 2nd of September, and I will be in Youngstown, Ohio, the 26th through the 30th in October. And I am easy to be found. I am at The Gentleman Psychic, thegentlemanpsychic.com, Richard-Lael Lillard. There's fakes, but you'll know that it's me. I mean, really, I'm not easy to impersonate, though I would love it if people would actually try in my presence and not steal the social media, but to try in my presence. I love that.
Challenge accepted.
We need to be present for that as well.
It's going to take some planning and some time. It's not something you just do
We're
in a
planning
week.
a get together somewhere soon. All right, Heather.
Well, let's see. We are about 1 month away from Mystic South in Atlanta, the big 3-day mystical witchy conference we have down here, and I am on the board, so I will be there for all 3 days, making sure everything goes smoothly, as well as presenting some things. And that is July 14th, 15th, and 16th. So come on to Atlanta and join us for some fun. And I will be in Minneapolis at the end of this month in a couple weeks. I'm not sure if I am going to be doing any presentations or just working, but I will be going to Paisley Park again because I always try to make a trip out to Paisley Park and see the Prince's home because Prince. Need I say more? I mean, he's Prince. So I always try to make a trip out there. And so we'll see if I do decide to do some signings or attend anything, I will let you guys know. But that's in a few weeks. Other than that, I can't wait to see Richard-Lael in September. And other than that, you can find me on all my socials. You can find on heathergreene.net. You can actually get if you can get my book through there. You can go to the Bewitched Home, and you can get my book that way. And I do signed ones through that. And you can also find me in all the socials that way: Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all the things.
Perfect. So. And Jason, you haven't gone yet, right?
I don't think. In 9 hours, I'll be getting up and going on a plane to Orlando for Summer Magic Fest. Yeah. If you go out east, as Patti well knows, from the West Coast, you must get to the airport at 5 a.m., which is the worst thing in the world. But so there's that. As I said, the Book of Chrononos just came out. I'm very excited about that, or will be out in 2 weeks. I'm very easy to find online. There are only 4 Jason Mankeys in the entire United States. I'm the only one who is a witch. There's one who's a Christian preacher. You know, torment him and like my
That's
stuff.
awesome.
There we go.
Thank you. Thank you. But he doesn't have your hair, no matter what.
No.
I'm Patti Negri. Find me pattinegri.com, and you can get to all my social media. Again, we're all fake, but Patti.Negri on Instagram, Patti Negri Psychic Medium on Facebook, Patti Negri on Twitter, all the usual places. YouTube, you're right here. But do like us and follow us, because that just makes a difference. So we appreciate it. And check us where we're going. And we have one more thing to do really fast, because it's 7 o'clock. What do witches do?